South Carolina beating Missouri
ball game this
in
was.
a thriller, man. 34-30 final score. Let's go over the highest graded Gamecocks in this one, starting off with their center, Vershawn Lee, with a 75.7 grade. Joshua Simon, the tight end, has been really a great tight end for them over the last couple of years, honestly. 75.5 grade. Bam Martin Scott, the linebacker, 75.1. Torricelli Simpkins III, 72.6. O'Donnell Fortune, 69.9. And Lanorris Sellers, the quarterback, 68.8. Let's go over to Missouri with their highest grade players. Offensive tackle Armand Membu has really been a really good player for them all year. 83.4 grade. Theo Weiss Jr., 78.6 grade. Cameron Johnson, the guard, 74.5. Nate Noel, the running back, 71.3. The other offensive tackle, Marcus Bryant, 70.3. And Brady Cook really battling through it, man. Shout out to him, 73.2. They were saying that he probably wasn't even supposed to be playing out there, and he battled through with all the injuries. He had the wrist injury, the ankle injury, obviously, as well. And listen, this is the last year of his career, right? And he wants to go out on a high, and unfortunately for him, he couldn't get this win over South Carolina. But I want to shout out to Brady Cook, because 73.2 grade is very good against this defense as well, and especially considering all the injuries he's going through this year. It's been a long year for Brady Cook, injury-wise, and obviously his play hasn't been that good either. But shout out to Brady Cook, man, because he's a tough kid, man.
What a throw he made to Luther Burden to take a lead late, in the last 2 minutes of this game. Unreal throw to Burden. Unreal catch by Burden.
Crazy. One-handed,
left-handed. Yeah. I mean, I think due to Missouri's struggles, we've forgotten a little bit about how darn good Luther Burden is. That's still a first-round talent. I mean, there's no question he's going to be one of the first probably 20 guys taken this NFL draft. But what a game this was.
Second receiver, right? I mean, depending on what you consider Hunter to be. But
yeah, I mean, it's second, third, however you want to put it. Absolutely at least a top 3 receiver still. I mean, just unbelievably talented. But for me in this game, you mind if I just wrap the whole spiel into one thing here? Okay, so I'll start with the numbers, okay? South Carolina, what's the usual formula, right? We want to run the ball. You got Rocket Sanders.
Play hell of a defense.
And they were coming into this game, they were the highest graded defense in the country. Well, they're tied with Texas. I think the two of them were tied. They had their second fewest rushing yards of the season. They had their lowest defensive grade of the season. And you sit there, you think about those two things, and you go, oh, this is going to be a rough one. Missouri won the game, didn't they? If there's a game to be encouraged for South Carolina's future, it is this game. They had their best pass protection game since week 1. They had the best receiving grade of the season. I like that they were getting Nick Harbor especially involved a little more, because that's
I'll get into a crazy stat in a second.
That's a freak of nature that they need to get involved as much as possible. And I'll give my most impressive to a guy who I've heard plenty about lately on Twitter. And it's Lanorris Sellers.
I love how you're just now discovering what a cesspool Twitter is.
Oh, I'm aware of it.
People are coming at you on Twitter. Like, these guys are so mean on Twitter. I'm like, Dawn.
Oh no,
brother.
I'm aware. I'm aware
brother.
of it, but for some reason the
ESPN's attacking you with the Jake Reslov every single week, man.
I can't help the national media. I can't do anything about that. But yes, I hear you about Lanorris Sellers, and I'm well aware. It was just the theme of the week this week of all the things that we're looking at with the playoff race and everything else. I'm getting just trash for the preseason projection on Lanorris Sellers, and honestly, because he just hadn't played yet. I mean, that's really the only reason I did it. I go, he played like 20 snaps last year or whatever it was, and I go, okay, I just haven't seen the guy yet. What are you going to do? And the last few games, he's getting better. He's definitely getting better. Early first half of the season was struggles, some ball security things. I think turnovers really hurt him in the Alabama game that they could have won, right? The LSU game, he was playing well, and then he got hurt just before halftime. 74.4 passing grade in this game, and maybe that sounds low, but there was a couple turnover-worthy plays mixed in there in the second quarter. All right, 353 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. That'll do it for a dual threat like him. And you know what I like about Sellers in this game specifically? And we saw it, at the end of the game when it was going back and forth. Made it happen when it mattered. 90.8 passing grade on third down, okay? In the fourth quarter, with everything on the line, the game's on him. They're not running the ball well. The defense having an off day, which they rarely have. 86.6 passing grade in the fourth quarter. You get performances like this from Lanorris Sellers, and you've got a foundation next year on defense with Dylan Stewart and what they have and what they've got going on defense with the schemes and the talent and everything. Now you start talking about South Carolina's future. It's this game. Even more so, I think, than the close loss to LSU, than the close loss to Bama, than some other big wins they've gotten. This is the game now, because this could be the game where Lanorris Sellers, okay, this is the game he took that leap. And the passing game took that leap, and they can rely on him. And they're still going to run the football, because when you have a quarterback like that, you find running backs to put next to him, and you run the football, because he's a 240-pound monster But if he's going to throw the ball from the pocket the way he threw it yesterday, now you have a different animal. We talk about South Carolina. We talk about all these contenders in the SEC. You talk about them joining that bunch. And I'll tell you what, I have to wonder. They're not going to – I don't think they're going to make the playoff. I don't think we're getting a 3-loss team.
No.
But if they go and beat Clemson in a couple weeks, they're going to be one of the first teams out. And we're going to be sitting here going, boy, what if they had just beaten LSU or Alabama?
They're one of the first 4 out in the playoff bracket we're going to do. I'll say that.
I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, you start talking about maybe if there was a boatload of chaos the last 2 weeks, you go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, this is a team I wouldn't want to play in a one-game scenario with this defense. And if Sellers is going to play like this, they're as hot as any team in college football right now. And I know the Clemson game, as far as standings, doesn't matter, and Clemson won't get an at-large. But I'll tell you what, this South Carolina team going into next year, we're going to be talking about them a lot because they're young and they have a boatload of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sellers played great, Dalton. But what I will say, South Carolina in this game had 222 yards after the catch.
That helps.
In this one. That's insane. 63% of Lanorris Sellers' passing yards in this game were after the catch. He averaged almost 12 yards per pass in this one. They averaged 10.6 yards after the catch per reception. That's their most yak all season. DeLayvon Campbell had 63 yards after the catch, only 2 catches. Joshua Simon, the tight end, 42 yards after the catch. Jared Brown, 41 yards after the catch. They had 12 broken tackles on catches as a team. And still, you would think about, okay, was it just a lot of short throws and they just, turn off field after that? The average at the target for Lanorris Sellers was 8.1 yards. Like, he was taking shots downfield in this game as well. Just Missouri's secondary had a lot of issues bringing down South Carolina. Dalton, 222 yards after the catch. This is an insane number for South Carolina's receivers.
Well, and it's represented even the last touchdown with Rocket Sanders catching a screen and getting it in the end zone. I mean, that's where you're looking right there. I mean, it's another reason where you go, okay, Sellers had a 74.4 passing grade. 2 turnover-worthy plays doesn't help that cause. And I'll tell you what, those receivers were putting in the work too. I mean, it's all the way around, though. You have to love the offensive effort they put in this passing game when their usual priorities, they didn't get to it, right? They didn't get the elite defense they usually get. They didn't get the big-time running game. I think it was 118 rushing yards in this game, which is very low for them. I think it's their second lowest total of the season. They just, if this is what they can be, if they can be two-dimensional, this is as dangerous as any team in the country.
Absolutely.
No question.
I want to shout out something from Missouri real quick because it was a great game. It wasn't like Missouri got blown out of this game. Their offensive line really came to play against South Carolina, against one of the best defensive lines, one of the probably 3 to 5 best defensive lines that we have in college football. And Missouri held their own on the offensive line. They had a 79 run blocking grade as a team. Nate Noel had 150 rushing yards and only broke 1 tackle, Dawn, in this game. They averaged 2.2 yards before contact per carry. So the offensive line was moving people in the run game. And then in pass protection, where South Carolina has dominated in their pass rush this year, they had a 70.1 pass blocking grade. They had 1 sack allowed, 1 hit allowed, 10 pressures allowed on 35 pass blocking snaps. The only other offense that had 70-plus grades in pass blocking and run blocking against South Carolina this year was Alabama. We consider to have one of the better offensive lines in college football. So really great job by Missouri's offensive line, especially considering, Dalton, Connor Tollison, their superstar center, is not playing anymore. He wasn't playing in this game especially. So without your star player in Connor Tollison at center, this offensive line still played really, really well in a tough environment as well, where your center is calling out protections all the time as well. And they had a backup center in there, and they still did a great job against in a great environment against one of the best D-lines in the country, and the Missouri O-line came to play.
Just a fantastic football game between two good teams. And I really like the effort Missouri showed as well in this game. I mean, it's been a tough season for them. There's been a lot going on. We talked about sideline demeanor and losses and, maybe injuries and just a lot that hasn't gone right for Missouri. And I think they got nothing to hang their head over in this game. This was just a fantastic football game.
Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.